Wuthering Waves has changed Gacha, for better or for worse. In my opinion, for better. I will preface before we delve into this video that I am taking this from the perspective of 2.0 rather than 1.0. We all know that 1.0 wasn't the greatest and is not an example, is not indicative of the quality that Wuthering Waves is now that it is in 2.0. Unlike Tower Fantasy that continued to degrade and get worse over time, Wuthering Waves, much like Genshin Impact, as it continued its life cycle, continued to improve as well. 2.0 has delivered us an incredibly high quality product, arguably one of the highest quality products for a major patch in Gacha, period. The sheer quality of everything in 2.0 is a testament to how far this game, how far this studio has come in that small little limited time frame. Due to the sheer quality that Wuthering Waves has managed to produce with 2.0, it has, as a direct effect, forced other studios to improve the quality of their games. Hoyo is a prime example of this, despite their fans, or certain very vocal fans, denying it. It is my opinion that competition breeds innovation. Kudo, with Wuthering Waves, has managed to force Hoyo to be a better studio, to make their games better. And, as a direct result, future Gacha games, Ananta, Neverness to Everness, Azure Parmelia, Arknights Enfield, these are all going to benefit from the higher quality that Wuthering Waves is forcing them to push out, because it itself is of a higher quality, a generally a higher quality product. Zenless Zone Zero and Wuthering Waves, these two Gacha games have set a new standard for 2025 and beyond. I'm talking specifically Wuwa here, but I gotta give Zenless credit. It has incredible combat, incredible characters, incredible narrative and storytelling styles, and it has very good character models. I don't know if I mentioned that. Wuwa has the same thing. With 2.0, it has absolutely killed it with its storytelling, its narrative style, its combat, its characters. Overall, and I think I speak for a lot of people, Wuthering Waves has what is arguably some of the best looking character models in Gacha. And as a result of the sheer beauty and the high quality that these characters are, it is going to force every new high quality Gacha to be at least as good looking, if not better. Because if you look worse than Wuwa looks, well, why would you play it? The reason Tower Fantasy, well, one of the reasons Tower Fantasy failed to be a Genshin killer was because Tower Fantasy looked worse than Genshin did. Sure, it might have had better character models to an extent, but overall, graphically, the game looked worse. What this means is if your game doesn't have character models that are at least as good as Wuwa's, then there would be no purpose in playing your game. Once again, Zenless and Wuwa have incredible action combat. Wuthering Waves has arguably the best action combat. I know they're going to be punishing Grey Raven players that are like, no, Stix, punishing Grey Raven's action combat is so much better. I think Wuwa's is better. I've been playing Punishing Grey Raven for about a year now. I think Wuwa's is better, but that is my opinion. Now, Wuwa having as good combat as it does has left a lot of players that played Zenless, that played Genshin, that played Tower Fantasy, unable to return purely because the combat just isn't as good. And once again, as a byproduct of its combat being as good, as fun, as complex as it is, every other Gacha game is going to have combat at least as good. Because if they don't, why are we gonna play it, right? Not only are its character models a pinnacle of the Gacha genre, but so is its combat. So if other games want to compete in either of these areas, they are going to have to acclimate, meaning Wuthering Waves is enforcing higher quality character models and better action combat in the genre. This is disregarding the absolutely phenomenal voice acting in 2.0 with Zani, with Carlotta, even the NPCs, just the general NPCs. The storytelling, which is much deeper, much more complex than what we've seen at any point in Wuwa's history. That is arguably deeper and more complex than what is currently going on in the vast majority of other major Gacha games. Not only this, but Wuthering Waves manages to condense the story down into an easily digestible format. What this means is that there is no unnecessary downtime. There is no unnecessary exposition, no unnecessary yapping. You don't have to sit there for 10 hours through unskippable dialogue. Now, I managed to finish, a lot of people managed to finish all of 2.0 in like 8, maybe 10 hours. And it was the best 8 or 10 hours that I have had in a long time, in a gacha game. Anyway, Wuwa has shown us you don't need 30 or 40 hours of dialogue. You need a few good hours that condenses everything into something that is easily digestible, because trust me, that is so much more preferable. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. Another thing that Wuwa showed us, you can have friendlier gacha in your game. You don't need to charge people an exorbitant amount. You don't need to have people hit 90 pulls to guarantee your character, 180 pulls for hard pity. You don't need to have a 50-50 on both a character banner and a weapon banner. No, not only does Wuwa have much friendlier gacha than any really of Hoyo's games, and I'm not just saying Hoyo here specifically, there are plenty of other games. Hoyo is just the most recognizable brand here, and a lot of games seem to have adopted Hoyo's business model. Not only does Wuwa have a friendlier character banner, they have a friendlier weapon banner, and so that you're guaranteed your weapon after 80 pulls. That's it, there's no 50-50 whatsoever, which means it costs you half of what it costs you in any Hoyo game to acquire your weapon. Well, actually, no, less than half. 80 is pity for both the characters and the weapons. In any Hoyo game, it's 90. So you require 10 less pulls for characters, 10 less pulls for weapons. Not just that, you actually require 100 less pulls for weapons overall if your luck is as bad as mine is. Now, what this has shown us, and what this has shown to other studios, is that you can actually have a more free-to-play friendly business model, and players will reward you by spending money. Sure, you're not going to earn as much, but at the end of the day, your community is going to value you, value your product more, because you're sacrificing some of your return on investment by making it easier for us to obtain what we want. Wuwa has introduced features into the game: gliding, gondola riding, features that other games have decided to either gate behind paid character exclusives or just general character exclusive abilities, like in Genshin Impact, like in the upcoming Neverness to Everness game, where wall running is character locked to that pink-haired girl. Locking and gating methods of traversal exploration behind either a purchase or a single character is ridiculous. What Wuthering Waves decided they were gonna do, we're gonna introduce all these features and let you do them on anyone you want. Yeah, you wanna know why? Because we want everyone to be able to utilize them. At the end of the day, they care about the number of people being able to utilize the feature that they have introduced, rather than how much money they can make off of this feature because of the quality of life improvement that it now introduced into the game. Which leads me to the devs listened meme. The devs, well, they listen to what their community wants rather than imposing what they believe their community wants. Rather than sitting there, having a corporate meeting with dozens of different members of their committee, their board, and saying, you know what we think these players want, that this feature right here. No, they ask us, hey guys, what do you think would make the game better? And then they do that. What this means is that if studios want their players to receive their updates to be as happy as a community as Kudo's players are, they are going to need to have the same level of communication and acclimate to the wants of their community, rather than just implementing features they believe their community wants. I think actually Zenless Zone Zero's subdivision of Hoyo, the team that is in charge of it, is a prime example of that. They have been listening quite intently to what their players want and have been making sufficient, adequate changes to their game that Honkai Star Rail isn't doing, that Genshin Impact isn't doing, and that players wish they did, but they're not going to admit that because they believe that their game is perfect and flawless, infallible, when in reality, no game is. And finally, I think the thing that WuWa has changed more than anything is gacha communities. I don't think there has ever been a gacha game that has been so hated by Hoyo players, specific Hoyo players. I'm not saying all of you. There are a significant number of you that just do not give a fuck about all the drama that goes on concerning WuWa, concerning Zenless, concerning other gacha games. And that is good, please stay that way. But there is a very small vocal minority of players that make it their identity, their personality, to hate this game with a burning passion. Like they exist purely to try and discredit and to try and destroy, for whatever reason, Wuthering Waves. Why? Because kudo, Wuthering Waves, they have provided us something that we all want, that Genshin players wish Hoyo would do. Better quality everything, better quality characters, better quality combat, better quality of life improvements overall, friendlier gacha, better features, introducing features that aren't locked behind characters that you have to pay for. That is why they hate WuWa, because it's something that their game isn't. And that is where other games are going to exceed and excel in, because they're looking at this and they're seeing how the community has responded and how willing the community has been to get behind kudo and support them. If any future gacha game wants to succeed to the level that kudo has with this game, take note. Hey, where do you think you're going? I see what you're doing there. I see you navigating on over, scrolling on over to that X button. Don't you dare. What I need you to do is take a moment and click one of the videos that are about to appear as soon as I'm done talking. And trust me, you're gonna wanna.